Hello, I'm Cadet Wood, Detachment 538's Public Affairs Officer. This is podcast number 2 of the fall 2022 semester. Here we will be interviewing an AS-200 and AS-300 cadet, asking them each questions posed by the cadet wing. All right, for our AS-200 cadet, we have Cadet Lerma.
Hello, my name is Cadet Lerma. I'm an AS-200 here at Detachment 538. I attend RIT, and I'm a second-year computing security major.
All right, Cadet Lerma, let's jump right into the questions. How does FTP change your perspective on your priorities, both AFROTC-related and academically?
I'd say FTP, biggest difference is from when we switch from 100 year is that you do a lot less of the followership aspect and you do a lot more of the leadership aspect as you're taking on a more mentorship style role for the brand new IMT cadets that are coming in this year.
How would you say the transition between the 100 and 200 year was?
I think it was pretty good. I made sure that, I was squared away with my classes, just making sure I budgeted my time correctly to, make sure I wasn't too overwhelmed with what other challenges that my FTP year would bring me.
Now, what would you say sets you apart from your class?
Oh, I'd say my biggest quality that sets me apart is just my overall confidence. I'd say I'm probably one of the most confident cadets in the FTP class at Detachment 538. I'm always just looking ways to use that confidence in order to boost up my other wingmates in my class.
What is FTP like?
Do you mean the FTP like the actual time that we do FTP, or do you mean like FTP year?
Let's do both. Why not? Do the year and then do it when FTP itself is like.
All right. FTP itself, honestly, I'd say it's like a high intensity or an even more high intensity lead lab. We basically just, it's definitely more focused on, instead of learning like just general broad leadership aspects, it's mainly there just to help us get to field training at the end of our sophomore year, and then B, prepare us for next year as POC cadets. And then just for FTP year as a whole, biggest thing I'd say is that you're definitely, as I said in the beginning, you're not in a POC position yet, but you're definitely in a far more leadership position compared to what you had last year, even if maybe in your second semester of your first year you had a wing position. Now you're definitely, there's a lot more expected of you as an FTP cadet, and it's just making sure that you can handle that level of pressure from from basically the 3 or 4 different trainers that you're going to have at any one time.
What's your favorite part of AFROTC?
Oh, my favorite part of AFROTC is probably the people I've met, honestly, I would say. I mean, I live in a house of 4 ROTC cadets. I'd say my best friends in college are all been ROTC people, just because, like, while there are some people in my major that I, like, have some similar interests with, it's the people in ROTC that I know, hey, we both have, like, not just the same, like, general interests in what we want to do for a living, it's that we have a goal later in life that we want to be on a similar track.
Yeah, the common goal and those common experiences can go a long way. What does your typical day look like?
My typical day, let's do a Wednesday. Wednesday, wake up, depends on, best thing about my schedule is that I can basically just change whether or not I want to do Wednesday or Thursday PT. So normally I wake up around 7:30 if I don't go to PT. Right as I wake up, then I hit class at 10 after I go to the gym in the mornings. After that, it's basically just classes until 3, and then Wednesday nights I have all my meetings. I have my wing staff meeting that I attend, and then I attend AAS meeting. But after that, it's pretty much just homework time. So most of the days either taken up by school, just some extra ROTC meetings, and then homework.
What do you feel most prepared for and unprepared for field training?
I'd say I have definitely most of like the general knowledge of field training down. Like I know, I'd say the majority of like the warrior knowledge that we're going to be asked. I know the majority of like some of the aspects that we're going to have to memorize for Maxwell Air Force Base as a location that we're going to be training at. I think I know a lot of the procedures like for marching and FTX stuff, a lot of like the tactical stuff on that level. Biggest thing that I'm unprepared for is there is some of like that just nitty gritty, like specifically for field training stuff that I'm not amazing at, like DFAC procedures or like just stuff that you're like dorm standardization procedures, stuff that you're training to do for Maxwell, you're not training to do while you're here at Lead Lab.
Now, what would you say you feel prepared or unprepared for in terms of possibly being an active duty Air Force officer?
Oh, I definitely think that this attachment and this program has definitely shown me and taught me to be a better follower, more than be a better leader. I think my confidence kind of brings along a little bit of like, I want to be a leader type attitude from myself. But then biggest thing with this program is that it's teaching me that, hey, you can't just take on that leadership role even as an officer in the Air Force. You have to be able to dial that down and know when you're going to need to follow. So especially when I enter active duty, I think that those lessons in how to be a good follower, especially as a brand new lieutenant, are definitely going to help me get my footing when I first enter active duty.
How do you manage your time commitments between academics and Drazy?
Biggest thing is just not before you even start managing your time, you have to make sure you understand how much time you have. So don't overload yourself with either ROTC or academics. So I'm not trying to do a 20 credit semester with 15 different extracurricular ROTC activities. So that's basically my first step. And then second step is just making a to-do list and then knocking stuff off as it's due.
What do you think is the most important thing one should know about this program?
Biggest thing that one should know about this program. I'll say that some people might have like a perception that once you go through this program, you're basically just, I'm coming in, doing my 4 years, and then I'm going to get a gold bar at the end of it. But I would say to a prospective cadet or to a brand new AS100 that it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fulfilling. You're not just going to, at the end of this, the only thing that should be on your name should not just be that you're a lieutenant. It should be more than that. It should be that you've grown in this way. It's that you've done these things. It's that you've done these accomplishments. It's that you have to get to that lieutenant level, but there are certain steps that you're going to take before you get to there that are going to define whether or not you can even reach that level.
Do you have any advice for current AS100s?
Oh, for current AS100s, I'd just say just memorize everything. Just learn a lot. I mean, it's your time to just soak everything up. I mean, the POC say it a lot that y'all are the sponges of the entire detachment, which I would definitely say is true. At this, especially first semester, y'all are just here to just soak up everything. I would say that, just make sure you're paying attention and like we learned in IRS 200 class, you're not just listening to the information, that you're hearing it as well. You got to make sure you know.
No, it's the other way around.
Oh, it's you're
not hearing it, you're listening to it.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you're not just hearing it, you're listening to it. You got to make sure you're internalizing whatever information is given to you before you're able to then apply it.
Is there anything from your experience as a 200 or your previous experience as a 100 that you think POC may have forgotten or might benefit from?
I'd say it's a big thing that I see with 200s as well. It's always understand your limits. I mean, GMC might see POC as like untouchable figureheads of ROTC, but I mean, we all have to understand that, hey, we all have limits. We all have things we can't do. So basically, utilize your wingmates. Know when you're not able to do something. Know when you have to rely on someone else.
What are some things that keep you excited about the future?
Mainly for me, I do want to fly in the Air Force, so just getting that gold bar is going to keep me very excited until I graduate. And then field training, I know it's supposed to be a kind of a little bit of a, not really a scary experience, but kind of a cold slap in the face experience. But I'm still pretty excited for that too, as well.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, I don't think I have anything else that I'd like to say.
All right. Thank you very much, Cadet Lerma.
Thank you.
And now for our AS300 cadet, we have Cadet Carlson.
Hi, I'm Cadet Carlson. I'm an AS300 cadet at Detachment 538. I go to RIT, and my major is biomedical sciences.
All right, Cadet Carlson, let's go ahead and jump right into some of these questions that the cadets want to know. What would you say is the biggest adjustment you've had to make as a person now that you were a POC?
Biggest adjustment? I'd say the biggest adjustment is definitely changing my own demeanor. If you can probably see, as a 200, I'm definitely like a very friendly person. I like to talk to people, and it's just very hard to try and maintain that balance of being professional while also still being a person. It's a weird balance, I'd say.
So what would you say would be the most challenging aspect of that transition from GMC to POC?
I think that the most challenging aspect is definitely having to learn how to plan things, because it's a lot of coordination between all different people. It's like if you're assigned for a certain station, you have to determine where it is, who you're going to have as an assistant, what you're going to do, what materials you're going to need, like time frames, and you have to have a plan. And that's probably the hardest part, is just you need to think about all the different kinds of scenarios, be able to have those contingencies if the GMC decide to do something that you don't plan for, basically. And just being able to think on the fly. Thinking on the fly is probably the biggest thing of all that.
So this one is pretty general. It says, what is life like as a new POC?
Life as a POC, it's a lot less stressful. It's so nice being able to go Thursday night, not having to worry about warrior knowledge, not having to prepare in advance. You can just fall asleep like a baby, go there, just prepare your uniform. It's it's such a change in environment that it's like you can wake up, like you can actually eat breakfast, you can just you can do things at your own pace, and as long as that you're prepared for whatever you're doing at LLab, you're fine, whether it's POCD or it's you're running a station.
That is great to hear. I'm sure that's a beacon of hope to all the current AS200s.
Mhm.
So, what is it like to teach the cadets you were previously training with? So the AS200s that were previously, you were both GMC cadets together.
Honestly, it's not that different. I mean, I know you guys. Of course, we've spent a lot of time together, whether it be at Sup Drill or other events, but like, it's just kind of cutting away that connection between you two in a sense, cutting away in order to teach you guys in that stressful of an environment, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. How involved are you in the cadet wing?
Overall, it's just the morale of the cadets. I'm trying to coordinate morale events so that to keep you guys interested and involved in case you're having a bad week. Maybe you have something to look forward to, like a hike at Letchworth, or maybe a movie night. Watch Nightmare Before Christmas on Halloween, which I'm planning to actually do. So,
That's a good one.
but yeah, it's a lot of, I guess, background involvement in a way.
How similar would you say that the day-to-day operations of a POC cadet are to those of a GMC cadet?
I mean, it's kind of like the opposite spectrum, I'd say, because you guys are preparing for things. You guys are basically preparing to learn, and we're the people who are preparing to teach you to learn those things. And so, how different it is?
Just how similar they are, or different they are.
Yeah, they're not really.
Just kind of equal opposite.
It is really equal opposite, because yeah, we're training you, you're preparing to learn while also doing those things. The one thing that I could say that is similar between the two is just preparing for those things, because we're preparing to teach you, you guys are preparing to learn. So you have like Sup Drill, and you have Reveille and Retreat practice, you have, if you have service dress, you have color guard practice. You have a lot of things to prepare for that you basically have already either mastered or have yet to do as a POC.
That makes sense. So this is kind of segueing into field training now. You can probably guess that these were asked by the AS200s.
Mm-hmm.
What was field training like?
So I don't remember who said this quote, but basically, because I fully agree, it's the most fun you'll never want to have again. It has such a sense of camaraderie with your flight, but then it has that other side of, oh, these people are yelling at me, I want to go home. But yeah, it's such an interesting environment, but it's not like basic where they'd be yelling at you for everything. You still have, I guess, a human aspect, because mind you, I don't know how much I can tell you. So, but usually it's like, it starts like very high energy, very high intensity, but bad energy. So you're going to get yelled at constantly on TD0. Every single thing that you do, no matter if it's good or bad, like, you're going to be yelled at. You're going to be expected to like conform, and basically it's a stressful environment that you're just shot into. But then the longer that you go on, like the more days, like TD1, TD2, TD3, it ramps downwards. So it's gonna start with that high intensity, high stress environment, but it's gonna slowly go down. But yeah, it's just a very enjoyable event. Though you're not going to enjoy it the first few days, it's very enjoyable. It's interesting to see how other cadets have been doing at other detachments. Like, you'll either get a bunch of high-speed cadets, you'll get, I guess, the people that haven't been able to train as much, and sometimes you'll get like a mixture of the two. And I guess the biggest challenge for that as a 200 is definitely trying to make yourself stand out amongst your flight. So just, yeah. Something that I learned from Cadet Mazzola is that he had, well, as an example, he had a cadet in his flight that constantly, whenever they went back to dorms, or I don't even know what you would call it. Oh, call it dorms. When you go back to dorms, he always had a guy in his flight who was constantly sweeping the halls whenever they had free time. And so, yeah, he was constantly sweeping the halls. Cadet Mazzola asked why, and he said that it calms him. And so, as a result, Cadet Mazzola went over to his, I don't remember if it was his CTA or FTO, but he asked, can this cadet get a Form 17, which, mind you, is a very bad thing. If you get a Form 17, well, I'm pretty sure if you get two
or three, I think.
2 or 3 Form 17s, like, you're out. That's a very bad thing. But those are also very hard to get. But he asked his CTA or FTO, could this cadet get a Form 17 for excellence? Which, with some thinking, they decided to actually do that. And so the at some point, I don't remember, probably when they were leaving, the CTA or FTO went up to the group of cadets and basically was like, so, a cadet in this flight has gotten a Form 17 or something of that sort. And everybody's like shocked. Everybody's like, oh no, like, what happened? What did we do? And basically they were like, a Form 17 leading off for excellence. And so they, of course, they like called out the cadet and they were just like, for standing out amongst your flight, for constantly sweeping the halls, for being that guy who is who has, I guess, who's basically working on a specific job and making himself known to benefit his flight. He got not that it did anything, but just for, I guess, morale reasons, the Form 17 for excellence. So there will be those moments. It's going to be high stress, but you'll still get that human aspect, that camaraderie with your flight, bonding, in a sense, bonding with your FTOs and CTAs. It's just, there's no experience that I've ever had that's like it.
I think it is safe to say that it's a unique experience.
Quite.
So do you have a favorite story or memorable moment from your time at field training?
Okay, yes. So, as we were leaving the DFAC, our flight, so yeah, you're supposed to form up underneath like a tent or designated area to get on the bus. And our flight did that, and our bus came along and we went on the bus. But unknown to us, our FTO went off to speak with some black hats. And so black hats are basically like the high management of field training. They are like your colonels. I'm not sure if it's lieutenant colonels and colonels, but they're your high-ranking officers who are organizing and managing field training and making sure that it's going smoothly, basically. And so our FTO, Major Hireman, I don't know if you can keep that in, she went over to talk to the Black Hats, and we went on the bus. And so another flight joined us on the bus, and we started going. So we left our major at the DFAC with some Black Hats. And not just that, like, it wasn't just that, but there's also a Jody. I would highly recommend learning it. Like, it goes, it starts off with, your mother was there when you left. And then the flight would call, you're right. And then it would go on with a whole nother thing, and they would be like, I left my home. Then they would respond, to join the Air Force. And so that was something that a cadet called a lot. And so it was kind of like our staple Jody. And as a result, he kind of like changed it on the bus. And they were like, we left Major sitting at the DFAC. She was talking to some Black Hats. And eventually it got to a verse where it was just like, she didn't know. We turned around. Basically just like to turn around and come back to get her. It was, oh, that was a good time.
What would you say is the most valuable skill that you used or learned during field training?
So the biggest skill that I probably learned was just the reinforcement of being able to act under pressure. So I know that we do that at lab. Like you're expected to be able to perform and kind of half block out the, I guess, POC in order to both listen to them while also like ignoring.
Yeah, without being
them.
like shaken by them.
Yes, that's what I mean. And so the biggest thing is just being able to acting as cool as a cucumber.
When you're under the stressful situation.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And that'll let you use all the other skills that you have acquired.
Yeah, you will. You'll learn to put on OCPs in under 4 minutes. It's an impressive feat, and also our CETA apparently has a record of 2 minutes, maybe 15 seconds for OCPs from PTGs to OCPs.
Wow, that's impressive.
Quite.
What were the Iron Man Award winners' FA scores?
I don't recall. I honestly do not recall, but it was something ridiculous. I think, I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure he had a run of like 7 minutes or something, maybe even 6. But it was like this man had to be running since birth. It was so impressive. And of course he probably maxed out push-ups and sit-ups. But it was just that run. I was astounded seeing that.
What is one thing other cadets do that frustrates you?
Oh, so they always say this. Like, they'll always say this at, like, Lead Lab or any other thing. Just don't be the DG hunter. Like, be humble. Like, don't just... Okay, so to better explain this, I had a guy in my flight. Like, it wasn't obvious that he was a DG hunter, but at the same time, like, looking back on it, it was like he was doing a lot to be high speed. And so I guess the best example of this is like, we're done with field training. Like, we go to the ceremony, we get our prop and wings, and we're all done. Go to sleep. Next day, you're supposed to turn in all your equipment. And so, he goes ahead, and me and somebody else are, like, going outside. They're telling us that you're supposed to basically, like, fold all the sheets and stuff, and we didn't know that. We just kind of, like, took them out, bundled them all up. And so I don't remember if I mentioned that this guy was DG.
So he did DG?
He did DG. And I was outside folding it on the ground with another one of the cadets in my flight, and basically, I don't remember the scenario, but it basically came along the lines of, like, no, I'm done with field training. I don't remember if he said I'm DG, but it was implied, like, I'm DG. I'm not going to help you fold anything. I'm just going back inside, grabbing my phone, and I'm just going to chill. So just continue to be a good person. That just goes for life in general. Be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do what he did.
Oh man, yeah, that must be very frustrating. Just drop of a hat. Oh, field training's over.
Yeah,
I'm done. So how do you think the detachment can improve in terms of training for field training?
I'm not actually sure.
If you think that's possible.
I'm not really too sure about that, because I owe a lot of my experience for field training to the detachment, and I don't really feel like I was unprepared? Yeah, I don't think I was unprepared for anything at field training. Like, I did feel genuinely ready. Like, FTP was so worth it. Highly recommend going if you can. As much as you would hate the sleepless nights and terrible times of trying to stay awake in class. But I would highly recommend just going to every event, going to just train as much as possible, learn as much as you can, just reflect upon everything, and over the summer, don't stop doing that. Of course, you can relax. You can relax and do all your stuff over the summer, but, like, make sure that you're staying on top of everything. I don't think there's really anything else I could recommend. Maybe small things here and there, but there's nothing big I would recommend for the detachment. I think it prepared me very well, and I'm not sure if anybody else thinks differently, but I think it's good. I thought our training was very well executed.
And last but not least, what advice do you have for GMC cadets?
In general?
Just in general. Or I guess it could be one specific piece of advice you would have for them. There's something that gets overlooked.
Something that gets overlooked. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, just reiterating a lot of points that are usually made. Just, like, stay calm under pressure. Make sure that you're keeping track of everything, keeping track of your schoolwork, making sure you're able to balance schoolwork and ROTC, making sure that you're talking to your wingman, making sure you're communicating, preparing for things. Learning is a very big thing. Really just solidify everything that you know and fail at 100%. I know that's the hardest thing, and even I still get nervous sometimes to do things, but, like, try to do everything you can and make yourself known.
Okay, thank you very much, Cadet Carlson.
Of course.
I would like to say thank you again to Cadets Lerma and Carlson for taking the time to answer these questions. This concludes podcast number 2. If you have any questions or comments, I can be reached by email at RomeoJulietWhiskey1032 at Romeo India Tango Echo Delta Uniform.